Support for this podcast comes from the law firm of Davis Malm. Whether you're a developer, property owner, manager, or commercial tenant, their real estate attorneys know the lay of the land, not just the law. Learn more at davismalm.com.
WBUR Podcasts, Boston.
I'm Daryl C. Murphy, and you're listening to The Common. April is Earth Month, so all month long we're featuring weekly conversations with some of the people in Greater Boston working to help build our region's resilience to climate change. First up, we have Kannan Thiruvengadam. Kannan is a founder and executive director of Eastie Farm, which is a community-based nonprofit in East Boston focused on food insecurity and climate justice through urban agriculture and education. He's also the president of Friends of Belle Isle Marsh, which is a group that works to protect and support one of the city's only remaining natural marshes. It's also the largest. And he is a commissioner of the Boston Conservation Commission. Kannan, welcome to The Common.
Happy Earth Month, Daryl.
Happy Earth Month indeed. Shout out to our planet, our lovely, lovely planet. We only get one.
We only got one.
So Kannan, let's jump right into it. Let's start with your work in East Boston. Tell me about how you came to East Boston and how you got involved with climate resiliency work there.
Well, I'm originally from India. My dad was a farmer, and I got into technology. I studied actually computer science, and that brought me to North America. I did my graduate studies here. But East Boston was attractive because it's just this beautiful, beautiful place with this staircase called the Golden Stairs, where people entered America from Europe originally, but also beautiful because of its coastal nature. And, in the current day, when you look at Boston's skyline from East Boston, it's the best view.
So how did you get into climate resiliency work once you got into East Boston? What was it you were seeing that made you feel like this is what I need to be doing with my time?
It's a coastal neighborhood, so obviously it gets flooded more and more now. I did study climate science, which freaked me out. And then I was like, what do? I want to do something. The activists often say, if not you, who?
Right.
And if not now, when?
Right.
So I took that seriously. I'm like, well, I'm right here. What can I do now? But it struck me that starting with a place that was abandoned to bring people together, to clean it up and grow food for everybody would be a good, positive way to start work on climate. And it really worked out that way.
Right on. Well, let's get into Eastie Farm. First, I want you to lay out the connection between your work addressing food insecurity through urban agriculture and climate change. Explain to folks how that all connects to each other.
First of all, a lot of people think of climate change and climate work as a work of tomorrow or the day after. Also, we have problems that are right now, that are here and now, like food insecurity.
Yeah.
So if you don't connect with people on the needs of today, then you cannot engage with them on the problems that are seen as problems of tomorrow. There was this kid that called me. We used to do schoolwork as part of Eastie Farm, and he called and left a message on WhatsApp during COVID where he said, I haven't eaten for a couple of days. And you can't hear that and not act on that. So we, as a small organization, jumped right into food security work. This is just the response that we have to have for our neighbors as people with compassion and love for others. So the system that we're creating is this transformative local food system. We connect with socially disadvantaged farmers across the region and make it possible for them to sell in the city. At the same time, that makes it possible for us to bring that food, healthy, locally grown food, to people who are food insecure and people who may be able to afford it but not pay market price. So that is what we're making possible. And because of that, we now have individual health, we have community health, And because our food doesn't have to travel far, we're reducing food miles, which means we're reducing the carbon emissions. So that's good for the individual, good for the community, and good for the planet.
And tell me about some of the practices you use on the farm to continue being good for the planet.
If you think about small scale things, like our neighbors often suffer from flooding issues. When there's too much rain, they don't know where the water should go. So it could affect their walls, their roof. What we do is take that water away and use it in the garden. And I call it extreme flood to extreme food. They're now happy. They don't have water damage. Instead, they get veggies.
Right.
Good deal, right?
Oh, yeah. I'll take that deal any day.
So that also means that now they're happy and they're engaged. And you can talk about how flooding is going to become more and more of a problem. As climate change gets worse and worse, they're ready to get involved in this conversation. They want to see water as a resource, not as a problem. And that's what makes us become more resilient when all these climate change consequences start to unfold.
And another thing that's interesting about this as we're talking, community is a big piece of this because you can't do this by yourself.
No.
Right? There's a network of people working together.
Right.
So talk to us about the importance of community in your work.
When you're starting something, when you're creating something out of nothing, you definitely can't do it on your own.
Right.
And it's the number of people that got involved in cleaning up that space week after week after week after week, pulling the trash out, pulling the Japanese knotweed out, all of that. Without people's involvement, this couldn't have been done. Whether it's Monica bringing sandwiches from her cafe or Jose showing up to help people, bringing them water, or Benedicto from next door meeting another neighbor he's never met. And all of this happening right on the space made it an active, positive space, and people came together. So when people come together, you draw from each other's energy. In Native American way of growing crops, there is this idea of companion plants. You have beans, you have squash, and you have corn. And corn serves as the stalk that the beans can climb on. And squash, because of its large leaves, protects the biodiversity in the soil. And the beans fix nitrogen into the soil, which is putting nutrients back into the soil. So these plants are very different, but they're helping each other and creating a system that's regenerative. It's the same thing for people.
Kannan, we're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, I want to talk about the future of your work and what's motivating you.
Sounds good.
We'll be back.
Look forward to it.
Did you kill Marlene Johnson?
I think you're one of the first people to have actually asked.
From WBUR and ZSP Media, this is Beyond All Repair, a new podcast about an unsolved murder that will leave you questioning everything.
Somebody should be in jail for murdering my sister.
A woman who's never been believed.
As long as they think I have done this, then they're not looking for who actually did this.
And that's what makes it a cold case.
No, it's a botched case.
And a search for the truth, once and for all.
Wow, it just gets more interesting.
Beyond All Repair. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
Be careful. You're digging in a place that's been very peaceful for a while.
Do it anyway. Dig.
And we're back with Executive Director of Eastie Farm, Kannan Thiravengadam. Another aspect of this is Eastie Farm works very closely with a lot of young people. Talk to me about why it's important to pull young people into that work.
Well, think about it. All the generations before us, they've done something that we're almost on the verge of not being able to do. That is giving us a working planet. Don't we owe that to the next generation?
I would say so.
Right. So that means we have to look at the next generation, make sure that they know what's coming and make sure they're prepared for it and make sure that they're empowered to shape their future. That is our duty, right? As every generation is done, you have to hand over at least a working planet to the next generation.
At the very least.
At the very least. Now, these young folks, they come with wide eyes, they have wonder, they have appreciation for beauty, they care about everything. And they have natural empathy, and they have creativity, and they have the ability to learn. They have resilience, they have grit, and they're coming to us with all that.
Yeah.
So their involvement is critical. Their leadership is critical. In EC Farm, we have a program called Climate Core. It's all young people. And the whole idea is to figure out what problems they want to solve in the community and how they want to go about solving it, and how can we give them the support. And in doing that, how can they learn skills that becomes a livelihood for them in the future? So they can have jobs that not only pay them well, but also are meaningful and help the planet.
Kind of come back to East Boston. What are you most concerned about when it comes to the climate future of that part of the city?
Well, this is a tough one. As a coastal neighborhood, obviously, as you said, the rising seas are the primary concern. If you go there on a king high tide event, you will see flooding already. And if storm surge is on top of that, then you see even more flooding.
Yeah.
And during some weird events like what's called a cloudburst, when the rain clouds park on top of your neighborhood and then just dump a lot of water, our infrastructure doesn't have the capacity to handle that. Damages from the ocean, both due to the rise and due to the storm surge, are all serious problems I would be concerned about. But why are they a concern? Because of the demographics of the community. Most of the people living in East Boston do not have a second home. They can't say, well, my house is going to be flooded tomorrow, so I'm going to go somewhere else.
Right.
Or when the flood insurance increases, as FEMA is likely to do, they don't have the wherewithal to pay this huge flood insurance money. So I'm concerned about just being a coastal neighborhood, what that is, at this point, still unprepared for what may be coming our way very soon.
Got it. And kind of along that vein, experts and activists, people like yourself, have been sounding the alarm about climate change. It doesn't seem like enough is being done to either slow it down or prepare us for what's next, right? Do you ever feel discouraged? And if so, what keeps you going?
I do feel discouraged at times. And what keeps me going is, I think whenever you come to a situation that is difficult, you want to come with positive energy.
Right.
So you can make it better. That is the only way to show up. Whenever a situation is bad, you want to show up with goodness so you can make it better. But the motivation for me is all the beauty of this world and the miracle of life. Isn't it amazing that we can talk now and hear each other, understand and appreciate each other? We can smell the flowers. We can taste the food. All these senses that are a gift of life, that miracle that's been unfolding on our planet, I think we owe it to ourselves to keep it going.
Understood. So, Kannan, like I said up top, we're talking to you because it's Earth Month and we want to talk to folks in the city who want to make our region more climate resilient. What's something you would suggest people do during this month to kind of help them appreciate this planet we have?
To appreciate this planet we have, it's spring in the Northern Hemisphere. And the farm, Eastie Farm in East Boston, and the Belle Isle Marsh, which is a beautiful, beautiful salt marsh in East Boston Riviera in Winthrop, are only looking better and better every day. So I would, just to appreciate what the land has to offer, I would welcome people to visit the farm and the marsh.
All right. Well, Kannan, this has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you
so
for the
much.
opportunity, Daryl.
You know, this has been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Executive Director of Eastie Farm, Kannan Thiravengadam. And that's our show for today. Thank you so much for listening to The Common. If you like what you're hearing, head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts, especially Apple or Spotify. Rate and review us. Let us know how you're liking the show. And with that, I'll say thank you. I'm Daryl C. Murphy, and I will talk to you tomorrow.